Hi, Marcia.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi there. I've started the live stream.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, John. John, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, good. Hi. Hi, Glorianne.
Hello.
Marcia,
Yes.
I got a text from Director Bates. He is on Mando standby at work and he will do his best to attend.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody.
Good evening.
How are you?
Okay.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey,
Did you
Steve.
get a haircut, or are you managing it where we can't see it?
you'll just have to see me and find out.
There you go. Okay.
Hey, Steve, speaking of
Yes.
seeing you, I would love to see you at my neighbor's house so we can work on his garden.
Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
You look good in short hair.
It was my wife's birthday present to me.
There you go. To you instead of, okay, I got it. Well, happy birthday, I guess.
Yes.
There. Hey, Jonathan,
Sorry, muted.
you always look so studious in there with all those books.
Yeah, the story behind this is actually my wife's former study. Yeah, but with COVID, we've changed places.
I have 7 o'clock, Marcia.
Thank you. I was working to see if I could help Chief with his audio right now.
I got it. Thank you.
I'm gonna check in with Chief for one moment.
Thank you.
Hey, McKay. McKay is our consultant, our redistricting consultant.
Hello.
So we're just waiting for the beginning of the meeting, McKay.
Any second now.
Hello, Michael.
Good evening. How are you?
Excellent.
I'm sure you're all thrilled to see me again. I know talking draft maps isn't exactly everyone's good time on a Wednesday night, but it is for me.
So it should just be one more moment. Chief is changing devices at the moment.
Thank you, Marcia.
There he is.
Just confirm you can hear me now.
Yes.
We got you, Chief.
Okay, we are recording and ready to begin.
Good morning, everybody, or good evening, everybody. I'd like to call a special meeting to order. Marcia, can you do a roll call, please?
Director Bates, absent. Director Danziger,
Here.
Director Jex,
Here.
Director Jorgens,
Here.
President Donner.
Here. Like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of
of the United States
States of America. And to
the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with
liberty
liberty
and justice for all. Thank you. I will open this up for public comment for items not on the agenda. Marcia, did we receive any correspondence or have any hands raised?
We do not have any hands raised or written public comments.
Okay, I will close public comment. Item 3.1, second public hearing on redistricting process. Review district maps, review the criteria for adopting new district boundaries, maps, receive input from the public, and receive direction from the board of directors.
Good evening, directors. At the January 19th, 2022 regular board meeting, a first public hearing was held to discuss redistricting. At this meeting, the board requests additional information to include maps, census blocks with population. This information is included in attachment A, which was published with the special meeting agenda. The portions of how we got here remain unchanged, and I'll move ahead to the next section, guidance provided. At the January 19th, 2022 board meeting, director raised questions regarding changes between District 3 and 4 along Ivy Drive and proposed changes between District 5 and 4 in the Orinda Woods HOA. In response, proposed changes were made to preserve the continuity of Orinda Woods as a community of interest. These changes are shown on the draft map included as attachment A. Requested a map showing underlying census blocks with population that was included with attachment A, and below the population, those tables were updated to reflect the revised maps. With that, I'll turn it over to Michael Cohen, who will provide a little more context, answer any questions the board may have. We also have our map maker will be with us tonight should there be any specific questions about the drawing of the maps. With that, Michael, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, directors. Good to see you again. I'm going to share my screen just like I did last time. Marcia, could you please enable that? Okay, great. So here's our draft map 2, complete with census block populations. And there have been a few changes to this map compared to draft map 1, specifically at the point where districts 4 and 5 meet. So We informed McKay that the 231, putting the 231 person census block here, I'll zoom in if it will let me, into District 5, the Orinda Woods HOA, an important community of interest. So as a result, left this block in District 5. But then to give District 5 the population that it needed, McKay reached across Highway 24 here to the east, down into District 4 to grab these census blocks here. Now, while crossing the highway does make the district a little more disjointed from one perspective, keeping the Orinda Woods HOA together is a net benefit in terms of preserving a community of interest and also preserving the equal population balance. So by taking this step, McKay was able to drop the population deviation from 5.7% down to 3.5%. Additionally, to make District 3 more compact, McKay took this one person census block here and tucked it into District 3. This also crosses the highway, but now District 4 and District 5 both cross the highway. So it was deemed to be less significant to be crossing the highway, and it gave District 3 this nice blocky shape to the northwest.
And that one in there means one person, right? One census person?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So finally, it might be worth readdressing some of the changes that were made here to districts 4, 3, 2.
Oh, before you leave that, there was another piece that you missed up there. There's 118 people that are in the area just to the south of that block that has 1 in it.
This here, sorry, right, excuse me. So all of this District 3, and McKay, you can speak even more specifically to the changes you made here.
Yeah, that's and thank you for pointing that out. So that is a very odd shape that kind of drives up towards District 5, and that's why I included that more square block of one person. If we would have just left it, it would look like kind of a waterfall creeping up, and so that just including that one. The block with one person in it really helps to the compactness.
Director Jorgens, what were you saying about 116 or something? What were you saying?
There, in that block that she just recently talked about, that goes kind of parallels Highway 24 all the way along there. It parallels Highway 24 where nobody lives, obviously, and then down along Camino Pablo up, sort of heading towards Safeway.
Yeah.
It is where the people actually live right as you head up. I don't know the name of the road, but it's how you get to El Toyanal anyway. All the rest of those other blocks that are on that side that have, it's where almost everybody in the El Toyanal area lives. There is that one little skinny block goes along Camino Pablo and includes a few houses there that are that have 118 people in them. So the idea, I think, is that it gets you 118 more people that are from Orinda, number one, which I think helps with kind of the balance and makes your district a little bigger.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing you. I don't see the number 118.
Oh, it's down.
I see.
Literally on Highway 24.
Gotcha.
But they don't really live where that number is. They really live down there along Camino Pablo, basically, or actually, it's slightly up the, where the fire sign is, the fire danger sign is.
Oh, down below. Oh.
It's
Okay.
down there. When you go up that road and you make a left after you go up the road 75 feet.
Yeah.
El Toyanal, you go to go to everybody up the hill, you go to the right, and you go to the 118 people, the other ones, you go to the left.
Is that like north? Is that north?
It's actually a court, and there's several houses on there. I have a friend that lives over there.
Okay.
Craig is right. You make a left about 75 feet up the road, and
Right.
there's quite a few houses up there, but it dead ends.
I know where it is. Okay. Kind of yeah. Okay.
You can see by making these changes, this is going to load fairly slowly, but we were able to bring, I should say McKay was able to bring the population deviation down considerably to a total of 3.5%. And District 3 in particular is now far less underpopulated. So the districts are all very much equivalent in population. So the final thing to run through may be worth revisiting the changes to this area here, which we already discussed with the first draft map. But just to quickly run through the changes that were made here, I have a zoomed in view of the change made in the southeastern portion of District 4, which you can now better see the houses that were given to District 3. So along here, the district used to split the block, and now it's been kicked over to the street, and 19 houses that run along here have been moved from District 4 to District 3.
And it must be number 2 to 3. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. 4. Yeah, you're right.
4 to 3.
4 to 3.
4 to 3. Yeah.
So
So that was from last. That didn't change from last week. That just is a further explanation of what was there last week.
That's correct. Last week, you might recall that the zoomed in map, the line was so bold, it was just difficult to discern precisely what was happening. And the only additional information we have from last week is McKay was able to actually go in and count the houses that have been moved to District 3. That's not the population, of course, it's just the house count, but it might be approximately 30 people.
Yeah.
I guess I'm confused, given the, so now the line follows whatever that road is that goes along there, the purple road, rather than the old green line.
That's Ivy Drive.
Yes, you're right.
Right. Last time we didn't realize, at first it looked like we were splitting the road, and actually we're doing the exact opposite. The old map split the road right down the middle, and now we're taking both sides of the road, putting them in one district.
The old map ran along a sort of a back fence, really.
And
I'm
that's,
confused. Is the green line that's there now, or whatever color, that dark line, is that
This is the old
current
map.
line?
that's
Michael, if I may, sir, the old census block followed the dark green line. That was the original border following the census block outline between 4 and 3. The census block is moved from the back fence of those houses along Ivy to the middle of the street on Ivy, meaning everything on the southwest corner of Ivy by virtue of that census block moving. So those 19 houses have been added to the census block that goes down to Moraga Way, moving those 19 houses from District 4 to District 3 as part of the census block movement.
Okay.
So
So
Chief,
now the
just-
line goes down Ivy Drive.
Yes, sir. The new line runs down Ivy Drive. I'm sorry. Would you please, Michael, would you make sure we're saying the right thing here? That the line has moved from the back fences to the middle of Ivy Drive, and the line is the old district border. The hash marks show the elements that used to be District 4 that will now be District 3. So the new district line will run along the middle of Ivy Drive.
Sorry about that.
That's correct. So that is just a better view of the changes that were made here, as you asked for. So those are the changes that were made to draft map 2. McKay is obviously present to answer any more specific questions about it, but also to help visualize the map using her special software, and she can make changes in real time. So any questions that you have, we're all available to answer them.
Michael, so just regarding District 3 and District 4, so those 19 houses on the southwest side of the street go to District 3, the other side of the street stays in District 4, and the center of the street of Ivy is the cutoff line, so to speak.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So can I ask another question then? So the way, just following your sort of the way you're designing this now, I guess the purple lines that are or whatever color, the dark lines, the dark wide lines that are there are the old boundary lines, and the new boundary lines are shown by shaded stuff.
So if you don't mind, I can interject, and I can also share my screen that has a little bit more detail to it, but the existing lines are, oh, thank you, Michael. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Can you all see my screen now? You should see that
Yes.
area that we were,
Ah.
okay. So this is, I'm just gonna zoom out here so that you can see something similar to what you were looking at. What we're looking at here is, in this case, the city limits are this dotted line. And then I'm going to turn those off so you can see, and I'm going to turn off the census blocks. These are the dark blue line is the existing line that you have currently. Anything that is hatched is an area that is moving from one district to another district. And you can tell what district it's moving to by the color block underneath. So the color block here is green, but it's still within the boundary of District 5 here, this current District 5. So that's how we know that this area is moving from District 5 to District 3 because it became green. So similarly here, you've got that strange block. I'm going to turn these back on now. This is that Ivy Drive that we were talking about. This whole block is 182 people in it. It's just that the census block has changed. They will change geometries every 10 years, slightly, in one way or another. And so in this case, for the 2020 census, it follows along Ivy Drive, where it used to follow along that back fence.
Got it. Okay, that all makes, it seems to me that whoever did all this made the numbers get a lot closer to, even in various ways, both, between like District 4 and 5. I know the numbers used to be off by more than they are now, or, have a variation of more than they are now. And I think they're already, and District 3 also got closer to being, it was, I think, significantly undersized, and now it's closer to the right size. So it looks like you guys did a good job.
That's correct. Here's the statistics in accordance to the color block map that we were just looking at. So again, we're looking at that overall range, and that's we get that by adding the highest above the ideal population plus the lowest below the ideal population. So for instance, District 1 in this draft map 2 has 7,495 people. So it has 117 over the ideal population of 7,378. So that deviation is 1.6% in the positive. So this is the percentage that you started at 20%, right? And that's mainly because you had a very high overage in District 3. So a lot more growth in District 3 over the last 10 years. So your deviation from ideal went up to 10.9%. And then you have these underages mainly in District 2 with negative 9.1%. So when you add these two together in the positive, you get that 20%.
That was before that was where we were, 3 months ago.
Yes. Yep.
Then you made progress on it last, a week ago. And then since then, we've made it even better.
Yes. Yep. This is, sorry, this is the one, this is draft map 1, and you can see the, yes, the overall range was higher. And then draft map 2, we're looking at that 3.5%. So a much better deviation.
Looks good to me.
I have a question. So District 3 is the only district that has part of Orinda and part of Moraga, and I also have Canyon. With this change, significant numbers are a significant number of Moraga residents are going to District 2 and 1 and leaving District 3. So it does create a imbalance in the population of District 3. If you look at District 3 now, it's quite a bit more Orinda residents. Is that any concern in the redistricting process?
Well, I think when the districts were formed, I think District 3 was trying to be the neutral, trying to have Moraga and Orinda and Canyon. So I think that was the idea behind it.
Yeah.
When you read,
I understand that. I'm just saying with taking out those areas that are shown on this map from 3 that are going to 1 and 2, the district is now more heavily Orinda than Moraga. And I just wanted to know, is that any concern in the redistricting process, or does it not matter?
So sir, with the regard to things to be considered, communities of interest can be considered. That's not specified. Communities of interest, of course, be many things, but the only way that you can balance the number of Orinda and Moraga voters in District 3 would be if you put Orinda voters in either District 1 or 2, because there are more Orinda residents than Moraga residents. And if 1 and 2 are preserved as exclusively from Orinda, and 4 and 5 1 and 2 are exclusively from Moraga, and 4 and 5 are exclusively from Orinda, the balance will necessarily include more Orinda voters. And with our current and last 25-year design, that imbalance will necessarily reflect in District 3.
Okay, as
Orinda's
long
been
as,
growing more than Moraga.
yeah, no, I understand that. I just didn't know if District 3 had to be more balanced under redistricting, policy or anything like that, but I guess not. I'm hearing no.
There's no law with respect to that. Another way
Okay,
the chief has said is just that the population does have to come from somewhere. Some districts will have to give, some districts will have to get. And this is just the best way, it seems, to McKay to balance the populations between the districts, considering the 2 municipalities.
okay. And so can you just go back to the totals now under the new draft? Yeah.
Yes, here's the draft map 2. And so you can see, District 2, 4, and 5 are spot on. They're under even 1%. I will say that 1.9%, anything under 2% is fantastic. You're trying to get it down as low as possible, but I've never seen a district actually get it down to 0. I've seen close to 1%. But this is a really good deviation for your district. And as far as those communities of interest, if they're already split, then they're split. The problem comes when you have a community of interest and you end up splitting it when it's not already split. So that's the biggest issue there. But I don't see an issue with it. It remains that regardless, 2 and 1 have to have population, and the closest, and 3 is over. And so that direct move of population from one to another is the least disruptive to the rest of the district. Does that make sense?
All right. I have a couple of proposals I'd just like to throw out there and we can talk about. Between District 3 and 4, back in that corner where those houses along Ivy are going to come into 3. So under the new proposal, District 3 is still the smallest, and I have a proposal that might make the districts a little bit more even, and I just wanted to, so we can just discuss it a little bit. If you see in that back in, where those houses are going from District 4 to District 3, that, see where it says 66 right there, that census block with 66, that line that connects right down there just to the north of 66, that's called Arroyo Drive. So yeah, yeah, that and the one right next to it, 50.
Okay.
Yeah, both of those. I just want to throw out, proposal that those 2 census blocks go to District 3. Okay, I just wanted to put this out, and then I have some other, one more change that might balance it out.
All right, hold on one moment. I'm just gonna, I'm actually not even in my program. I'm just, I'm working in my desktop, so.
I mean, I think that line, that one line above the 66 and 50 is pretty clear.
Right, yes, absolutely. And that is kind of a strange
Yeah.
jump down. Let me look at where those lines, I just wanted to look at where okay, so that is an issue. And that is because, so if we were to move these blocks from 4 to 3, oh, it is not a problem. I'm so sorry. I thought we were going to cross the Orinda Moraga line. So
No,
if we were to move these guys from 4 to 3, that's 116 people.
yeah, and then I have another proposal on another area. So I'll show you that.
Okay, great. Let me go ahead and just mark these. And I'm going to change the color so that we can see what's going on. But that actually brings the deviation down to 2.8. So it actually brings it down.
Yeah, and then I'll show you what I would propose in another area to give back some to District 4.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think it just looks clean myself, but
Yes, that little hang down is that helps with compactness. Absolutely.
and so so if you go up to the top of District 4, and I'm not, this isn't an attempt to gerrymander anything like that. I think it brings the numbers, I think, even closer. I have to look at my phone because I put it on here. I'm trying to see where it is. So the area where I'm looking for Via Fairlawn and La Cuesta.
Must be further south.
Oh, right, yeah, there. So
That's between 4 and 5, not 3 and 4.
right, that's correct. That is correct, because we just took 116 in that other proposal. I took 116 out of District 4, so I was looking to give back so that
A block of 87.
yeah, what about that block of 8? Yeah, that block of 87 right there. Why did what can't we give that to back to District 4?
Yes, I believe so. Do you want me to go ahead and do that?
It just for a draft, just to look at.
Yeah.
And just to see what that does to numbers.
So that made the difference between 4 and 5 change then.
Yes. Well, oh, that 87 right there was proposed to go to 5, right?
Right. You
Yes.
made mine smaller.
Yeah, so I was taking that from 5 back into 4.
And that actually brings the total deviation down to 2.3.
From
But what's, yeah, but what are the actual numbers? What now how big is each difference on each particular?
So I just have a spreadsheet going here. This is a workshop. So you can see that these are the actual numbers now. So 1 is the only one that has some overage of 117. 2, 3, and 4 are all negative, but slightly under 54, 22, and 42. District 4 is at 0%.
But the difference between 4 and 5, for example, went from being 3 to being 53, 54, 55, rather. So it made a bigger disparity in 3 when you did that, in between 4 and 5.
Correct. Yep.
By,
But it was a lower disparity before.
Correct, because you also had some exchange with 4 down at the bottom, 4 and 3.
It brought 4 and 3 closer.
Well, the other thing that, I mean, I realize we're using the numbers from the census, but
yeah,
at the moment, Wagner is clearly growing. I mean, you know, the houses are sold, the people are moving in, the whole place is basically sold. So we know what, with relative certainty, what's going to be happening there. In my district, for example, there basically aren't any places to build more houses. I mean, it's effectively impossible. And I think that's mostly true of District 4 also. I mean, there is a lot here and there, but certainly you can't go build hundreds of houses in either District 4 or 5.
You said Wagner, you meant Wilder, correct?
I'm sorry, Wilder. I don't know why I said Wagner. Thank you.
well, yeah, I guess that's a point, but I don't know that we're just going by the numbers now. So anyway, that's my proposal. Just to make it more even going in.
So can you go back to that table, the one you had the Excel spreadsheet?
Yep. So this is that draft map 2. It brought 3 closer to 0, but it did switch over 5. So 5 is negative 54 now.
So it actually makes it closer if you don't change that 87.
Oh, if we don't change, does it? Okay, let's look at that. That could be. What happens if we don't do that?
Because if it currently is,
Sorry. Let me just pull this over. If you don't change that 87, then you're looking at it goes to negative 1.2. So it does bring up the deviation.
well, that's, you know, that's a way to count deviation. That's not personally the way I would count deviation. But
Well, that's kind of calculating deviation under the law for what it's worth. It's the most under plus the most over and the difference between them.
well, I understand that, but you know, you could also just take the total deviation, right? Which is, I would argue, a much more interesting way to do it than the biggest under and the biggest over.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's in reference to the variance from the ideal. So anything over plus anything under that ideal is the total, is what the census and redistricting is considered the total deviation or total variance.
Right, but all you do is take the highest and the lowest.
Yep.
But that's not the total. That's just the highest and the lowest. If you just add up all that whole column, that's the right answer.
Yeah, so that's not how the redistricting laws actually work. So we have to use total deviation as defined by the redistricting laws.
Well, but you don't have to minimize. You just have to be within a certain range.
Correct. So
The law isn't that you have to minimize it. And so we could make up, as long as it's within the law, we can design any scheme we want, right?
absolutely. And a lot of districts do, they will go a bit higher just to impact less population. So that is also an option. I mean, this is a really low deviation that you have right now.
So the
you do
deviation
have-
in the middle table is actually the lowest.
Yes, that is with moving those 87.
And what's the deviation total on the one you call draft 2 or map 2 or whatever, the one to the left of that?
This one,
Uh-huh.
so that would be 3 point.
No, just add the right-hand column up.
Right.
Sorry, this one here.
1.1, and the other one is 0 is 0.9, and the one over here is 1.1. Yep.
So this would be 3.5, this one.
No, I'm having the law is the law. There's nothing we're discussing that has anything to do with not being in compliance with the law. So their scheme, in my opinion, is interesting, but we met that criteria. Now we can go on to more interesting criteria. And so it looks actually like the one that Director Danziger proposed is the lowest overall total deviation at the moment.
Yeah.
In other words, you just add up the numbers in the entire column, not just the high and the low. The high and the low, obviously, whoever came up with this, as far as the government folks, weren't statisticians, so that's okay.
Well, you could imagine under that calculation scheme that you could have districts that would be far above the ideal, far below the ideal.
Absolutely, and you can make a separate criteria that says you want to minimize that also, but that wasn't what they did. So I'm fine, Director Danziger's proposal is, at the moment, minimizes it, seems reasonable.
I really didn't, to tell you the truth, I was focusing more on my district. I didn't look at District 1 and 2 to see if there was, something we can do to even, District 1 is the largest now. Maybe, I didn't, if we could see, maybe there's a 50 group right on that border.
So there is this 15, but that would be kind of a strange reach for not too much benefit to go back to 3.
Well, I don't need it. I was thinking, I don't need it in 3. I was thinking between 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Okay, gotcha. That would make sense there, to put the 15 and then
To put the 15 in, well, but to put the 15 in 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would you like me to change that?
I would like to see what it looks like. Yeah.
Put back up your spreadsheet, will tell us what it looks like, right?
Yeah, I'm just changing the colors.
The biggest change so far that's been made is, I think it was mine, District 2 is about 600 low. So we've already made a big change.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I think this just brings it a little bit closer in.
Yeah.
So are there 2 blocks in there that don't have anybody in them? Is that the deal?
That's correct. Both of these, so I'm looking over at the sum over here. I know it's really, it's pretty small, but the selection, the one that I'm highlighting, shows the population from within there.
So where's your spreadsheet to see what moving 15 from 2 to 1 does?
From 1.
From 1 to 2.
the two, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you already changed the color. Yes.
Yeah, that looks like the only one.
So this is,
Yeah, I think that looks pretty good.
so that brings this down even further.
Yeah,
That's looking at 2.1. Five is kind of what you're definitely shooting for. Under 3 is kind of the gold standard.
okay. I like that one right there. I would go with that.
Well, so if we're gonna, let's go back up to between 4 and 5 up there by St. Stephen's Road up in the top.
Uh-huh.
So how many were over in, there were a bunch of them over there. Because crossing the highway that way was not an ideal, we were trying to not break up the 231.
Hmm.
But 87, the 87 really, community-wise, is more part of where it has the 5 and the other big 198 or whatever around that lake.
Yeah,
That's really a community, and so it's the 238 or 231 are all there. That's all part of Orinda. That's half of Orinda Woods, but the 87 is really a weird carve out of a community there.
okay. We could do that. What about that 65?
65 and
5 and the
17.
17. How many is that?
Yeah, yeah, 65 and 7.
So that's what that's
82.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be okay.
So I'm sorry, I wasn't really following. Are you
Those
saying
would go back to 4,
4? Okay,
and
gotcha.
the 87 would go back to 5.
5.
5.
So the 87 would go back to 4,
87
right?
up in the upper left.
87
would go
middle,
back to
that
5.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's what we're looking at right now. This is the statistics that we were looking at, correct? Are you saying that you want this to go back to 5 and these
Yes.
to go back to 4?
Exactly.
Yes,
Gotcha, okay, so
Right.
So I don't, other than a couple of people, one way or the other, that's roughly the same number of
Yeah.
people. But
Yeah.
geographically, or community of interest, I think it's less.
yes.
I think it just also cleans the districts up just without the jagged district lines.
Yep. So how many
And then McKay, you're putting the 65 and 17 back in 4.
yes.
Or
Yes, that's
There you go. Yeah,
82,
Yeah.
so that's within 5, that's pretty doggone
Yeah.
close. That actually gets a little closer, I think.
yep.
this is what we're looking at here. Because it was an 87 for an 82, it
Yeah.
really evens it. It's really a difference of 5.
It's a slightly better answer though, right?
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. When you can see that this road dead ends here, it appears from a geographical standpoint that these communities are that might be a community. So if you can keep that together, the more the better.
That looks good. I like it.
I like it.
Yep.
I'm hearing yep.
So let's say that was at least 3 people,
yes.
Okay.
4 people. Chief, are you hearing, so where's John? John, are we supposed to vote on this tonight, or is this not
No.
on the agenda to vote on?
It's not on the agenda to vote on. This is just instruction to staff. You would instruct staff to bring this to you in the next regular meeting.
Great.
Directors, we've had a hand raise for public comment. I'd like to take the public comment, please.
Good
Okay.
point.
Marcia, go ahead, please.
Dick Olson.
Hello, Dick.
Hi there. I'm trying to unmute.
We can hear you.
I'm good now. Thank you. Since all of you on the board know me, I'll not waste my 3 minutes by introducing myself. But for the record, I'm a 49-year resident, taxpayer, and voter within the district. I have two concerns I would like to address or share with you. One of those is with respect to a pending major residential development within election divisions 1 and 2. I fully realize that you have to make your decisions based upon the 2020 census, but I also realize, or I'm going to make the case rather, that what you're contemplating doing with a shift of a part of 3 into 2 and 1 is you're going to be creating a significant imbalance in the populations of those 2 districts within a very short period of time that you'll have to live with, the whole district will have to live with, and those populations will have to live with for the next 10 years until it's time to put in or get the impact of the 2030 vote. And my second concern is a possibility, and it's only that, and probably a remote possibility, that the 2020 census, because of the coronavirus, might have missed part or all of a significant block of people in Division 1. So let me articulate my first concern, and that is the boundary change for Division 1 and 2. That includes the entire area of the Moraga Center specific plan. That plan area is split as currently envisioned in the change between the 2. It is designated for high density 12 to 20 units per acre development. It calls for 510 to 630 new units. Yesterday, the town of Moraga Planning Department told me that they are currently reviewing 3 separate development programs for 3 major parts of the MCSP. Depending upon what number you want to use to estimate the per unit population combined impact on divisions 1 or 2, we might be talking about 2,000 more people in the next handful of years. Adding that many residents in the near term would result in a significant deviation and imbalance relative to the residents in the remaining 3 election districts, who would be much less numerous. In that circumstance, I suggest you might want to consider maintaining the Division 1 northern boundary at Canyon Road, given that Division 1 currently is only 312 residents off, whereas we're talking about an influx of 2,000 people. My second concern is the possibility that due to the coronavirus, a group of possibly as many 1,600 residents of Division 1 may not have been included in the 2020 census. I'm talking about the number of students who, per St. Mary's College website today, live on campus in the 16 residence halls. On March 18th, 2020, St. Mary's campus was shut down one day after Contra Costa County announced a shelter in place in response to coronavirus, and the students were immediately sent off campus. An Associated Press article in this immediately past Sunday's newspapers stated that because college students across the country were sent home from campus before the 2020 census count was completed, they might not have been counted or fully counted. And the story went on to say, and this is what I
That
found.
has exceeded our 3 minutes.
May I have the chair's permission for another minute?
Let's wrap it up, Dick, but go ahead, please.
The Associated Press story said, the Census Bureau has proposed creating a separate program to accept challenges for dorms. I'd like that you consider checking whether 1,600 students or some number of those were included in the census. That's the extent of my comments. Thank you very much for your attention. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dick.
I can take those concerns if it would be useful. First, to quell any concerns, if the district goes out of legal compliance at any time over the course of the next decade in terms of population deviation, it's authorized under state law to redraw its boundaries. So furthermore, that this issue related to districts being out of balance because census counts may not have been accurate during the pandemic is certainly not unique to MOFD. It's something that I think all of McKay's clients have probably dealt with. It's a difficult question, certainly. There are two ways to modify your census count, which I believe Dick was alluding to when speaking about the Associated Press article. The reason why localities challenge census numbers is generally for state and federal funding, not redistricting or reapportionment. So there are two ways to actually go about doing that. The first is going through the Census Bureau's count question resolution program that will allow a district to bring certain narrow challenges based on the boundary lines of a local jurisdiction or on the grounds that housing units on the census address list were mistakenly duplicated or deleted. That wouldn't make any difference to MOFD because those grounds aren't relevant to the issue identified with the district's census counts. There is another way that MOFD could go about challenging the census district count. The census population count, which is to conduct what's called a special census. Starting next year, localities can hire the Census Bureau to conduct a special census, which is effectively a redo of the 2020 count. But the catch is that the locality has to foot the bill. And again, these revisions to census numbers, they're typically used for state and federal funding purposes. It won't affect apportionment, and as far as I know, won't be used for redistricting purposes. I can't speak at this time to whether MOFD could redistrict following a potential future effort to revise census numbers. State law specifically authorizes MOFD to redistrict under two circumstances only. The first is after the decennial census, which is what we're doing here. And the second is if the district experiences what's called a change in organization, which includes circumstances like annexation, adding a voting district, those sorts of things. Just taking off my lawyer hat for a second and thinking pragmatically, if census numbers needed significant revision, we might find enabling legislation compelling or authorizing a follow-up redistricting effort. I don't think that's likely though. And it's not something we have to think about now because as Dick has recognized for now, MOFD is still bound by the deadline for redistricting in state law, and the district has to proceed accordingly based on the census numbers that we actually have.
Michael, I have a question in regards to redistricting. When a district like MOFD and this proposed possible 540 units, do you need to take that into consideration if the plans have been approved, or you just go with the numbers, the actual numbers that were presented now?
You do not need to take it into consideration. State and federal law is unambiguous on this point. It says you have to redistrict based on the census numbers.
Okay, thank you.
I think that would be consistent with what we're kind of not doing with District 3 and
with Wilder.
Yeah.
And knowing a little else about the district, I should also point out that because of the historical trends of growth in District 3, it may also be that District 3 grows more rapidly than 1 and 2, despite the proposed developments. It's just difficult to anticipate how districts will grow over time.
Coming back to the issue with regards to students in the census, we should be able to make that, or at least a guesstimate, looking at the 2010 and the 2020. I don't, what in terms of total numbers of those two districts, 2 and 1, there wasn't a big number of reductions in terms of numbers accounting for that many students, is there?
And I imagine the student population was pretty similar 2010 to 2020. They haven't,
yeah,
they haven't added.
So if we go back and look at 2 and 1 before the redistricting.
But, I'm just curious because I'm thinking about when I was in college. I'm just thinking about voting, I guess. When I was in college, I don't think I voted where I went to college. I think I still got it where my parents' house basically is.
Yeah, a lot of people do both, or at least get 2 ballots. Whether they vote twice is up to them.
Yeah. Yeah, but
so
yeah.
Okay, so if we looked at District 1, there's what, 13,007 between the two districts.
So this was the 2020 2010 number that
10,
we have
yeah.
up?
No, I don't have the 2010 numbers in front of me, but I can try to find them.
Well, I mean,
Director, just to be clear with our numbers, it's the 1997 numbers. The district is we've never redistricted before. So the divisions that we started with that are shown in the first table in the staff report, those deviations, that's population growth or change since 1997, not 2010.
Oh,
But I guess the question is, it doesn't appear that it's 1,600 low, I guess is my point. If it was 1,600 low, that'd make the difference a lot. And it doesn't appear to be a lot different.
Yeah, it's 13,007. And what do we have now in there?
So this was draft map 2 without the changes that we just made.
Right, but that's 14, almost 15,000.
But directors, we're comparing apples to oranges here. McKay, please step in if I'm missing something. But this is the map, the lines of the map that were drawn in 1997, and it's the population that was present in 2020. And we're talking about moving the 2020 population. This is not the population that was in the district's voting divisions in 1997 when they were drawn. This reflects the old lines, but the current population.
That's correct.
But Dick's point was that Division 1 is quite possibly 1,600 low, and it doesn't appear that that would be true.
Well, I don't think I don't think it's possible to make that statement with this data, sir, because we don't know what the 1997 population of District 1 was, or the 2000 or the 2010. So really the 1990, which is what the 97 maps were drawn based on. And we don't know from this data here what the population of that division was in 2000 or 2010 when the last census was carried out. But to the broader point that the census data is the census data, and we are not, it is not permissible to speculate on what the correct number is and to make guesstimates about how best to correct for that. We are required to use the census data that was provided. Right. And if the discussion about the opportunity to contest and to modify census data comes about, that and is approved and that data is received and there's a deviation, that would be the appropriate time to consider whatever impact COVID may have had. The census is accurate.
And I think we're all in violent agreement. I think my only point is it's not obvious that it's wrong anyway. If we're going to use the data we've got by law, great. And it's not obvious to me. I'm not sure I agree with that Dick's hypothesis necessarily is intuitively obvious, at least from the data we do have.
Yes, sir. I don't think it's possible to know from the data we have because we don't know what the population of that division was in 1990, 2000, or 2010.
What's the population of Moraga? We know what that is. They keep track of that on a regular basis.
So Chief, just so I understand, the numbers that we're looking at in the census maps that we have going in were 2000, with not 2010. So there was no redistricting 2010.
No, so there's two different things here. So the division lines, the boundaries, the blue lines, irrespective of the population contained therein, date from 1997 are based on the 1990 census. The population that is shown now is the 2020 population within the 1997 division boundaries. Because so what the map maker did was took the given districts that what we have and populated them with the 2020 census, and then made recommendations about how to balance that same population. So the underlying population numbers stay the same, just division boundaries move is the only variable on the data that we have here.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess we're not making motions, we're just raising hands. I would propose that we stick with the answers that we had, that we all seem to raise our hands about 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago.
The changes that we all made and agreed upon.
Because that's based on the current data that we have from the official government database today.
yes. Yes.
I would be in favor of that.
Same here.
Agree.
Okay.
And if I may, sir, just before we stop, McKay, can you confirm you have what you need to take the last map that we took? The directors expressed a desire to see go forward with the population changes. Do you have enough to propose to bring that back to us as a draft that will be brought to the board at the next regular meeting for public hearing and adoption?
Correct. And I just wanted to bring this up because these are the actual numbers. This is an output of our Alteryx application. So you can see it's the deviation is even down lower to 2%. You also have total population by race and ethnicity. You'll get this report. You've got citizen voting age population. So you've got that on your radar. And then there's a small map that I'll clean up here, but it shows differences as well. But I'll also give you a formatted map similar to what you've seen before as a map package.
And Chief, as we discussed at the last meeting, can we make sure that part of our deliverable is that we get the super detailed maps that we can, unlike what we have been historically getting from the county, that we can scroll all the way into each road?
Yes, sir. And were you able to access the high resolution file that was posted on our?
Yep.
Our
But now the boundaries changed. So
I'm sorry.
But now we're proposing changing the boundaries. So I just want to get another one of those, I guess is my point.
Yes, sir. I just seeking to confirm that worked out. That was appropriate.
Yep.
And McKay, I wonder if in those statistics for the different districts, do they have a breakdown by age?
So the census, that's actually from the American Community Survey, which is done, it's put out it's done every year, but you get summaries every 5 years. So that's where you get a lot of the more detailed information. The census puts out mostly just the demographic information, so race, ethnicity, and total population.
So age not available.
No, not in the data that we have for the geographies.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, McKay. Thank you, Michael.
So this will come up back in February for a vote?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So President Donner, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, can I get a second?
I second that.
All right, Marcia, can I get a vote roll?
Director Danziger,
Aye.
Director Jack,
Aye.
Director Jorgens.
Aye.
President Donner.
Aye.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
Thanks, everybody. And McKay, particularly thanks to you and Michael for helping us out with this.
Job well done. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Directors.